Alright, Union Pacific rules of the track welding rules and procedures. 113, switching maintenance grinding. Chapter introduction. Apply with the turnout maintenance grinding for the purpose of switch maintenance grinding and increase the longevity of the component. Removing the metal flow with the restoring radius, prevent chipping and cracking. The performing any of the task with the use of the frog radius gauge with the track with the control of the amount with the grinding RPM. Rating abrasive weight will still will not exceed the RPM rating of the power equipment being used. Personal protective equipment. Grind turning out cross firings diamond and remove. Flowed metal, grinding slots, grinding running rail, grinding stock rail, switch points, grinding remove flow metal, grinding switch points, grinding slotting rail ends, use proper abrasive wheel slot rail ends. Hard abrasive grinding, hard hat, hearing protection, type of the ear protection, welding here, hood and clear lens of the grinding mode with the safety goggle with worn up face shield with the goggles and safety goggles 5 shade must not be worn. Wear glove, work gloves, the welding jacket, weld sleeve with leather leggings, approved safety toe boots and flame resistant clothing. See respirator policy of respirator equipment. Grinding turnout crossing frogs diamonds. Remove flowed metal. Remove all flowed metal from the gauge side of the corner of the frog. Apply steady pressure for the effect of the remove the metal without gouging the parent steel. Grind the gauge side corner of the 5/8 inch radius. Grinding slots abrasive wheels used with the sliding must not be more than 1/8 inch thick. Appropriate pliers must be used between the abrasive materials, abrasive metal wheel and metal flange. Carbon rail frogs. The carbon rail frogs slot depth of at least 3/16 inch, slightly bevel at the top. Slot between the shorter point and adjacent rail slot between the filler block of the heel of the frog with adjacent rail of the magnesium insert. Magnesium insert frog with a slot depth of 3/16 inch, slightly bevel at the top of the slot between the insert of the binder rail with a slot between the narrow portion of the magnesium insert. Carbon steel X-like extension rails at the heel of the frog. Grinding running rail. Remove the metal from the running rail and areas adjacent to the guard rail. Grinding stock rails and switch points. Remove the flowed metal. Remove all flowed metal from the gauge field side of the stock rail as well. With the on-gauge side, remove the metal flow with 4 inches of weight ahead of the switch point. Grind back to where the switch point ends in contact with the stock rail. Ensure no short projection remain after grinding. Ensure flowed metal with the stake of the rail with the tap back with the switch point minimum of 4 inches to eliminate sharp corner. Grind the gauge field sides with the stock rail 5/16 to 9/16 of an inch radius. When grinding Samson stock rails, it is important not to change the dimension of the gauge face. Only apply enough pressure to remove the metal flow without gouging the parent rail to change the angle of the gauge of the face. Grinding switch points. Grinding switch points as follows. Ensure the tip point of 5/8 of an inch, 3/4 inch lower than the stock rail. Refer to standard drawing the specific dimension for the various size switch points. Ensure the top point of the point tapers back and the first 8 inches of the point will not carry any load. Remove the metal flow with the gauge side with the switch point. Restore 5/16 to 9/16 of an inch radius. Remove the metal flow back with the switch point with obtaining the close fit between switch point stock rail. The back switch point must be slightly beveled at the top except for the first 10 inches from the end of the point. Slot with the rail ends of the heel of the switch point. Grinding sliding rail ends. Use proper abrasive wheels. Abrasive wheels used with the sliding rail ends must not be more than 1/8 inch thick. Rubber and paper bladders must be used between abrasive wheel and metal flange. Slot rail ends. After further grinding with a slot rail end with the required dimension they use for the proper equipment, the slot should be matched with the contour of the rail end with avoiding cutting into or knocking on the joint bar of the following procedure. Apply with the sliding rail ends, opening joint square of the rail end, move the metal flow with the grinding slot with the rail end 1/4 inch 5/16 inch deep. Metal the rail end 1/16 3/32 inch back. Alright, closed joint. Center the sliding wheel between the rail ends of the closed joint. Remove the equal amount of the metal from each rail with the slot rail with the end 1/4 inch 5/16 inch slot with a width of 3/16 inch inch joints. Remove any of the flowed metal with the rail ends. Ensure that no sharp edge remains. Avoid cutting the end of the post as much as possible. Do not slot any deeper than necessary to remove the flawed metal. Slot outside of the rail with the curves down outside of the rail curve with continued sliding over the round with the gauge of the side of the ensure the areas engaged by the wheel with the flange. Avoid nicking with the grinding of the joint bar. And then it goes into definitions and then an appendix, but that's the chapters for your Union Pacific Building America Track Welding Rules and Procedures.